Hey guys, it's May, which means it's Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and what better way to celebrate that than to talk about everyone's favorite subject, race.
Lin puts it up. Bang! Jeremy Lin from downtown!
It's a confident young man. It's a guy right now that has everything going right for him.
Headline writer was fired for using the phrase chink in the armor to describe the Knicks' first loss.
Linsanity was one of the only times in my entire life where everyone in the United States was talking about an Asian American athlete. Jeremy Lin, a player who was offered no Division I scholarships coming out of high school, and someone who really looked almost nothing like any other player in the NBA, absolutely lit up his opponents around the NBA and really stunned players and fans alike across the league. He even showed up to the late great Kobe Bryant. Coming out of Harvard as a 22-year-old, Jeremy Lin was initially undrafted in the NBA and averaged less than 10 minutes a game, 3 points per game, and shot under 40% from the field during his rookie season. However, just a year later, during a 12-game span in early 2011, Lin ended up averaging over 22 points per game, almost 9 assists per game. He was the leader of a New York Knicks team that went 9-3 during those 12 games. I won't bore you with too many other details about Linsanity because I think a lot of people know what happened during it and what happened after it, but unfortunately for Jeremy and for our Asian American community, just as quickly as he rose up to stardom, he quickly fell back down. Looking back, it almost feels surreal seeing someone with my skin complexion looking dominant in a major American sports field. A player who actually looks like me getting media attention and showcasing his talent at the highest level in American sports. Honestly, kind of disturbs me that I have to feel this way. We all know the stereotypes. Asians are good at school, but suck at sports. We all have small eyes, big brains, become doctors and engineers, eat cats and dogs, make a lot of money, but can't be leaders. I've heard really almost any Asian stereotype you can think of. Casual racism towards Asian Americans isn't exactly the worst thing in the world, but I still find it very concerning just how comfortable both Asian and non-Asian people are with comments like these, including, unfortunately, myself. I really hate to admit this, but for the sake of transparency and honesty, I feel that all the time, if I'm with a group of people who isn't Asian, I will make jokes about my ethnicity and put myself down and my culture down just because it feels like a common and quote-unquote natural thing to do, which, again, is really fucked up. I don't speak for all Asian Americans when I say that, but from speaking to many of my classmates and peers, it doesn't seem like I'm the only person who has this experience and has this feeling. It's kind of hard not to feel this way when society encourages an environment, or maybe not encourages, but kind of condones an environment where if you go into the YouTube comments section of like many Asian creators, some of the top comments will be about, what type of household pets that person must eat, or how they just can't take that person seriously because of the way they look. And, someone who's now Asian American and technically a content creator, even though that's one of the freaking most stuck up names for a hobby that you can ever imagine, it's very concerning to see that. Asian society are considered the quote-unquote model minority, which means that we're obedient, we don't cause trouble, we get good jobs, we don't take risks, we push our kids to go into top colleges, and we're apparently the epitome of what America can do for any minority. Sure, it seems like a nice label to have, but it doesn't seem so nice when you think about some of the other side effects of that generality. A lot of Asian Americans come across as bossy or too assertive even when they try to lead a group because so many people who aren't Asian or even are Asian aren't used to seeing people of our race or of our culture act that way. Seeing an Asian on a basketball, football, or hockey team is almost a novelty at a lot of high schools and colleges. There's a multitude of reasons for why Asians don't appear more in popular sports, but regardless of the causes, the image that Asian Americans have in society has seemed to become relatively static. We'll fix your computer, but we won't hit a jumper. What? Shit. Woo! Okay, well, I'm extremely sorry. That line sounded a lot better in my head than it actually did when it came out of my mouth. Anyway, Jeremy Lin is someone who gave me hope as a child to become a pro athlete. Don't get me wrong, I was never good enough at any sort of athletic thing to become professional at that. But his success was almost a small beacon of hope that, maybe, just maybe, I didn't have to put myself inside this doctor, lawyer, engineer box that seemed to have been bestowed upon me since my day of birth. The culture from Asian countries is largely blamed from what I'm describing, and it's no secret that so many people who immigrate here from those countries are, usually very prudent with both their money and their careers. People like my parents worked their absolute fucking asses off to get to this country and just get their feet from under them here. And they want their children to have a stable and guaranteed life. And who the fuck could blame them? That's an amazing goal to have for your children. And honestly, going for athletics or maybe some other quote unquote less stable field is probably the exact opposite of what many Asian parents want their children to do. And due to this fact and many others, I really don't have a concrete answer as to how we can actually change Asian American perception in society, especially when it comes to sports, athletics, and especially the NBA. I just wanted to make this video and express just how weird of a symbol Jeremy Lin is for the Asian American community. He's a guy who overcame so many factors, including his own ethnicity, in order to shine at the highest basketball level. He's also a guy who in no way represents what the majority of Asian parents want their kids to go for growing up, or what even the majority of Asian children themselves in America envision themselves doing when they grow up. Jeremy Lin, I love you as both a player and a person, but at the same time, I almost can't understand the world that you're in because it's so different from both my current world and the world I'm likely going to live in the future. I'm just another Asian college freshman, probably going to go study engineering, probably going to sell his soul to get a degree, and probably going to go and get a very classic stable Asian job. That's certainly not a bad reality, but really, given my circumstances, what other reality would have been possible? When it comes to Asian Americans, for every one Jeremy Lin, there are about 99 Joseph Lees. Thanks for watching. Hold on, I can't end the video there. I actually came up with the idea for this video and wrote out the script and everything for this video about 3 months ago up until this point. I think at the time I was partially inspired to make this video the uptick in violence against Asian Americans due to this global pandemic that we're facing. It is honestly so scary how much more relevant this video has become since I've come up with this idea. I think a lot of us have heard what happened in Atlanta this March. I don't want to say exactly what happened, but you can probably see on the screen if you're not familiar. And the event triggered so much conversation among so many social groups, so many demographics, so many different regions in the country, discussing how Asian Americans are being treated currently. Much of that treatment is largely due to the fact that COVID-19 originated from an Asian country, which in itself is such a dumb thing to actually materialize and say out loud. That is honestly so stupid that that's the reason why this is happening. And during this time, I can't help but think of my parents from time to time and wonder if they're going to be safe and wonder if they're going to be okay, especially over the past few months and especially since that incident. I give a lot of credit to the subject of this video, Jeremy Lin, because he has spoken out time and time again, both before and during this pandemic, about his experiences with racism and prejudice as an Asian American. And, throughout the years, he's continued to serve as an amazing role model and someone who I can look up to both as a person and as an athlete. I don't really have much else to say about this more recent and more serious side of the Asian American experience that hasn't already been said multiple times by other people, but I guess I just want to express how insane it is that we are seeing such a large increase in hate crimes against Asians living in America just because the pandemic we're dealing with happens to come from an Asian country. That is heartbreaking to watch, and I honestly question our society and the way things are working every day because of that fact. After most of the population gets vaccinated and the world starts slowly turning back to normal, I can't help but wonder if this side effect of COVID-19 is unfortunately here to stay. As always, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. Stay safe, everyone. Stay anxious. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out.